Welcome back to another live episode of Spurs in Focus post-game reaction. Game 4, your San Antonio Spurs pulled it out. They have a stranglehold on their series versus the Portland Trailblazers. They're up 3-1 after beating the Blazers in their gym, 114-93. Again, welcome everybody. We appreciate it. You see that guy on your screen right next to me. That is Mr. Rudy Campos with the Sports Answer. Make sure to follow him on X.
Spurs.
That's actually a good name.
Spurs Answer. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get copyright.
Yeah, let's copyright that ASAP.
Yeah.
Follow him on X at the Sports Answer. You want to do that right now. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia. Follow me on X at Jeff G Spurs Zone. Substack, yeah, go over there right now. Just Google Spurs. It's Spurs in Focus on Substack. Hit subscribe. You are part of the crew. Subscribe wherever you get your favorite podcasts, such as iTunes, Spotify, Pocket Cast, YouTube Music, obviously YouTube as well. The list goes on and on. No excuse for you to not come to Spurs into Focus every single day right here on YouTube. This should be your first and only spot for all things San Antonio Spurs. Yeah, what a game. What is it with the Spurs? Do they want to prematurely age us in the last two games by getting down so bad at half and then only to have to rally going into the second half? Again, they did that exactly thing. If you saw game 3, you pretty much saw game 4. Down at half, rally. Down at half, rally. Let's start off with some general observations of the Spurs win. Rudy, take it away.
I mean, the general observation on the Spurs win, yeah, you said they started off the game really, really slow. They had a horrific second quarter, being outscored, I believe it was 33-18 in that second quarter. Portland up 17 at halftime. Just it kind of looked exactly like the way a lot of us may have thought that Portland was against the wall, knowing that Wemby was back for game 4. And they came out and they really, really just punched the Spurs right in the mouth, especially in that second quarter. But like we've been saying all season, Jeff, the Spurs stayed calm, cool. They came out at halftime and they just reversed it. So this team has been keeping us on edge all season long. And again, you don't want to doubt it. You want to wait until that fourth quarter is over and done with to see the final outcome. Early takeaway is, again, another slow start for the Spurs. Against Portland, it's okay to start slow. They've proven it. They can start off a little slow because they can kick it up another notch in the second half. That's my biggest takeaway is the slow start. But all in all, I mean, a team that is relatively one of the younger teams in the league, growing up again before our eyes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was a carbon copy of game 3 in game 4. Now, let me get the bad news out of the way first, okay? I don't like the fact that back-to-back games, they're down at half. That tells me there's something going on in that first half. They're not starting games out strong. I know it's a small sample size, 2 games in a row, but it's the playoff setting that worries me. And whether they face Denver or Minnesota, I think either of those two teams do not let a young Spurs team crawl back into games as the Blazers have done in their last 2 games in 3 and 4. That is, I mean, you even said it before we even started the recording or the live show, I should say. You were like, Jeff, there's really not much bad to talk about. Well, there is, because that first half, again, digging themselves in the hole. Rudy, I think that is the biggest takeaway in the last 2 games is they got to stop that. They got to come out the aggressor, and they didn't in the second game in a row. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, especially against teams like Denver and Minnesota, who could one was going to potentially be their second round opponent. Those types of teams, if you get off to a bad start, you continue to struggle, and it's a really big climb up that big mountain, especially against the way Minnesota's been playing lately against Denver. Physicality is on another level. Jaden McDaniels looks like he wants to be the defensive player of the year. But you're right. They got to start off very fast. And again, there's very few things I didn't like about this team today in San Antonio. The only thing I could point is that second quarter. I mean, they just looked completely lost. They completely looked battered. It just didn't look very good for San Antonio. But again, the slow starts, it's okay, I think, right now against Portland. Portland is very inexperienced, just like San Antonio is when it comes to playoffs. We talked about Scoot Henderson. He scored as many points as you and I did today in game 4. So, yeah, I mean, when he's not going, it's tough for the Blazers to win. All in all, I mean, they got to get off to a fast start. But again, it's just starting out for San Antonio. They're still getting a feel for the playoffs. Only a few of them have been in the playoffs in their career. Darren and maybe Luke Cornett has probably had, even Harrison Barnes, they've had some good playoff experience. I'm okay with the slow start against Portland. I'm not okay with it in rounds 2, conference
Yeah,
finals, and then the
yeah.
finals.
Yeah. That has to clean up. And to his credit, Mr. Johnson did acknowledge that.
Mhm,
He did say that even though this was a win, after the game, he did say there's still a lot to work on.
mhm.
And he highlighted, being the aggressor, playing with consistency, playing together. Obviously, the second half changed all that. We'll get down in a bit, but some of the ugliness in the first half. I mean, you mentioned that second quarter. My goodness, they were outscored 33-18 by Portland in
Mhm.
the second quarter, led to a 17-point deficit at half, 58-41. The Blazers were out rebounding the Spurs, 28-18 at half. They were out shooting the Spurs 45% to the Spurs 34%.
Yeah.
Either just getting to the line, 13 trips to the free throw line to the Spurs, 4 trips to the free throw line. That again, that was an ugly half. I'm glad they came out like gangbusters in the second half. We'll get to that in a bit. But Rudy, is this? Can you almost forgive them considering this is a young team and they're just kind of they are getting their feet wet in the postseason?
No, the forgiving part, I said I understand they can get off to a
Yeah.
slow start and it's okay against Portland. Doesn't mean I forgive them. I mean,
Mhm.
you can get away with it in the regular season. You can start off very slow, and you know what? You're like, okay, that's one game in the regular season. We can bounce back. In the playoffs, it's all about adjustments. You know, the Blazers are making the right adjustments. They're just not able to continue that
Yeah,
adjustment
exactly.
through the entire game. They're starting off very fast against San Antonio, but again, coming out of halftime, Mitch Johnson and the coach staff gets together. They put in a brand new game plan. It seems to be working. So in the playoffs, it's a totally unforgivable
Mhm.
thing for a team that is one of the best teams in the league, record wise, and I mean, stat wise as well, to continually have slow starts these past
Right.
couple of games. It is concerning. I'm not going to lie. It is concerning. But again, is it forgivable? I'm going to say no, not
Okay.
not in the playoffs. The playoffs are a
Yeah.
totally different atmosphere. You do not want to come out slow in each and every game because it will bite you in the butt.
Yeah, and it almost did again to the Spurs. Fortunately for the Spurs, they had a tremendous second half. Again, if you saw
Mhm,
game three, you pretty much saw game four. It's carbon copy. The Spurs just came out of the half and just took over the game. Let's get to the real deal.
mhm.
That is the second half for your San Antonio Spurs, outscoring the Blazers 73-35 advantage Spurs. They were down 17 at half, and they go on to win by 21. So pretty good
Yeah,
numbers there for the Spurs.
yeah,
How about a turnaround? And they just did everything right, out rebounding the Blazers 22-11 in the second half, committing more assists, 15 to the Blazers, 3 in the second half, connected on shots. They were a scorching 66% shooting from the field in that second half to
yeah.
the Blazers 33%. The Blazers just went cold. They just went cold. Now, credit the Spurs defense for that. And that was my biggest issue with the first half, was that their defense was almost non-existent. It came alive in the second half, getting aggressive. They got to the free throw line 13 times with the Blazers 10 overall. And of course, I mean, knocking down the threes. That was something heading into the postseason. I was worried about the Spurs, is that it is a 3-point happy NBA era right now,
Yeah.
and the Spurs don't connect on them. That could be the difference between a win and a loss. Fortunately, the Spurs connected on them on the second half, connected on 8 3-point shots, while the Blazers connected on 3. That was 20% shooting from the 3 line for the Blazers. I mean, my goodness, it's a flip. It's a flip. And I'm glad, at least in this series, they're showing they have a switch. They could turn it on. But again, this is an unproven Blazers team. We'll see if they can. Well, they cannot do that for sure versus the Denver or
Oh no.
Minnesota at all. We're not talking about the tall French elephant in the room, and that is Victor Wembanyama. He made his return to the Spurs after going through the NBA concussion protocols, and he had himself a game, 18 points. I'm sorry, no, excuse me, 27 points and 11 rebounds for the game. You don't think the Spurs need him? Well, they definitely do. All right. He was a plus 28 when he was on the floor. Huge advantage to the Spurs. Your thoughts on Wemby's playing?
Don't forget, I mean, the 7 blocks and 4 steals, and I said it right,
Mm,
4 steals. I mean, that was the one department that you and I talked in the preseason where can Wemby get enough steals to maybe
yeah.
get that quadruple double that we've talked about
Right.
or anything? seeing him get 4 steals it's great. But the play that he came back, from concussion protocol, looked like he
Mm-hmm.
didn't really skip a beat. I was a little concerned at the beginning of the game only because he did miss his first few shots. He came up short on the first 2 3-point attempts that he had.
Right.
Normally, when that is, it's kind of the focus part. When you're coming up short, the jumper's really not
Yeah.
working very well. But he bounced back. He got the easy buckets after that. He knocked down a three. He was you know what, Jeff? I haven't said this much about Wemby, but he was really attacking the basket,
Yeah,
really
he
getting
was.
physical down low. That's the victor that's going to take this team to an NBA title when he's able to dominate the paint the way that he did and defend the rim the way that he did. Everybody plays better around him. When you look at the plus minus for all starters, Stephon Castle was the worst at plus 17. No, I'm sorry. Devin Vassell was plus 14. But
Mm-hmm.
even Stephon Castle didn't have to play 30 minutes tonight. He
Yeah.
only played 26. He was in foul trouble, but it's okay. You kind of got him a little bit of rest. Wemby, on the other hand, you couldn't have asked for a better game in a return from a concussion than you got out of Victor Wembanyama.
Mm-hmm.
27, 11, 4, and 7. Whoo, man, you always give me crap about the generational talk, and I told you I'm peeking my head through the bushes, and I got both eyes looking out now. So we may be there very soon here.
Breaking news. Rudy's going to start giving him the generational label. Is that true? Are we there? We're not there
I
yet?
I said I'm peeking through the bushes, Jeff, with
Okay.
both
All
eyes.
right.
I'm not quite out the bush yet, right there.
Yeah. You have the generational label, though, already. I heard that.
I didn't. I did. Yes, me
Yeah.
personally, I am generational. Definitely.
Yes, yeah, it definitely is. Hey, everybody, we thank y'all for stopping by this live episode of Spurs in Focus post-game reaction. Spurs beating the Blazers in Game 5 by 114-93. Yeah, another comeback win for the Spurs. My God, they can start calling them the comeback kids. I hope not. I'd rather them not be the comeback kids because that tells me that they're just coming out of deficits. Because eventually that well will run dry. Eventually they're going to go up against a team that's going to say, "Oh, we have you down. We're going to break your neck." And I think that's what we should worry about. They can kind of get away with it with Portland. They definitely can't get away with that should they move on and face either Denver or Minnesota. Again, Wemby, an incredible game. He was a defensive monster. And he had how many blocks in a row? There was like a sequence during the game. It was a block and a block and a block and a block.
3 or 4, I think.
Yeah. So he was putting his footprint on both ends of the floor. But somebody who I said needed a redemption game in this series, at least after game 2, and that was De'Aaron Fox. And that guy on your screen right now, Campos, he kind of scoffed at me when he asked me, "Oh, does De'Aaron Fox need to do 20-plus points?" And I said, yes, he does. Yes, he does. And he did that in game 5 with 28 points, took over control of the game in the second half, added 6 rebounds, 7 assists, did all that work in 38 minutes. After the game, Victor Wembanyama said that De'Aaron Fox makes the game fun. Mitch Johnson also said that this was Fox's best game as a Spur. Buy or sell that, Rudy?
I've been buying it since day one. I'm not one of the Fox haters that you see on Twitter and everywhere else. I'm not the podcast guys or the fans that give up on De'Aaron Fox every single time he goes and scores 15, 16 points. De'Aaron Fox is exactly the type of point guard you want right next to Victor. Not just because Victor says it, it's because he definitely is that player. Right. He's Mr. Clutch in the fourth for a reason. So what? He missed a couple of games. He missed a couple of shots. Didn't come through. Name me a player that has been clutch the entirety of his career. There are none. They all have mistakes. They all have flaws. I am buying all of De'Aaron Fox. We bought it. Myself and Derek bought it a year before he was traded to San Antonio. Everybody didn't give us credit for it. A year before he was traded to San Antonio, we said he would be a Spur. Derek had the insight on that. There's a reason why Victor wants him. There's a reason why Mitch Johnson has him in the fourth quarter. It's because he trusts De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox is one of the best point guards in the NBA. He knows how to run a team. He can score when need. And you know what? He makes the game so much easier for everybody around him. So, again, don't ever jump off the De'Aaron Fox bandwagon. He's worth every dime that he's getting paid from San Antonio.
Yeah, I mean, he was also doing things outside of scoring. He was being a really good defender in that second half. He shot 65% for the game from the field.
Mm-hmm.
and connected on 4 of 8 3-point shots. He even threw in 1 offensive rebound and 5 defensive rebounds as well. You look at his play in that second half. Let's go pull it up here. 18 points in the second half. 18 points.
Mm-hmm.
Really rallied the troops. He was a plus 31 for the Spurs in the second half alone. A freaking plus 31,
Yeah.
Rudy Campos. That's how impactful he was in the second half. He completely dominated the game. And what I liked about it, and as he said after the game, that for him, it was just doing the simple things. He even gave
Yeah.
an example. He said, "Oh, I don't have somebody out in the paint. Okay, I'm gonna look for my shot. Oh, I can't find my shot. I'm gonna go kick it out to somebody who has a better shot."
Mm-hmm.
He just said that's all it was, and I'm glad he did it because the Spurs needed some heroics. Luckily, they got it from the veteran himself. He even talked about his experience and why he didn't want to see this Spurs team lose because they went through it in Sacramento when they were on the ropes as the opposite team when they were down 3-1 and how they had to rally.
Yeah.
So he said, like, I've been there, done that. So he goes, and what is interesting too, he even said that he felt the air go out of the Moda Center. And he said he felt the fans in
Mm-hmm.
Portland, get back down on their seats. And that he said the shots for the Blazers looked tighter because while the Spurs shots looked a lot freer and looser. So he definitely saw a tale of two halves from that
Mm-hmm.
Blazers team. Definitely a great game from Fox. And I don't know, he might pop up later on this show when it comes to a little bit of awards we have here at Spurs in Focus. By the way, everybody, we're not going to be having a long post-game show. We're going to try to keep it about 45 minutes-ish.
Yeah.
It's Sunday. We have to get ready for work, everybody. We're old men.
You mean
God,
you're not a millionaire? Everybody says you're a
I
millionaire.
don't know why. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I only have – no, I don't. I mean, it's not like lightsabers are real. I mean, I gotta afford a lightsaber once in a while, but no, I'm kidding. But Rudy, we're ignoring the fans that are popping in right now on a Sunday evening. Yeah. What are they talking about?
So we got CB in here. He's saying, KJ had a few moments where he looked like himself, referencing Keldon Johnson again, a guy that you've been bringing up a lot lately.
Yeah.
Says, why has he's 6 man of the year? He hasn't looked the same. I remember our last live show. I said it's maybe because of matchups, and today he kind of attacked the basket a little bit more. If you didn't really notice it or take notice, Keldon was there in the fourth quarter during this massive Spurs run too that they had in the fourth. So he's getting the love by Mitch Johnson. He's getting the playing time. He scored 9 points. But again, it's just the presence of Keldon Johnson to get down, get downhill, get to the basket. He made a big difference today. I'm glad other people are noticing. Do you still worry about KJ?
No, I'm not worried. I think if he could just give you that, then we're good. Because I think you're right. I think it does come down to matchups. And maybe the Blazers just present something to him. He can't be as effective as he saw during the regular season. But again, he did chip in his way, being aggressive, scoring those points when they needed. And he was key defensive. He had some key defensive stops for the Spurs as well in that second half. All in all, it was just great. It felt like the Spurs have been doing rope-a-dope on the Blazers in the last two games. They just leaning on that rope. Go ahead. Get it out of your system. Get it out of your system. And then they come back and just pop them in the mouth in the second half. Look, whatever it takes, it works. But again, that's the only worry I have from this series so far is they cannot sustain these deficits and keep on getting themselves in a hole moving forward. Any other comments?
Yeah, we got a few here. JC the T, man. Shout out to JC the T. Says, bring it home, get some rest, let Minnesota and Denver fight, win that. Bring on Boston. He says, Boston's going to be a whiles away. I don't even know if Boston gets through Philadelphia as quickly as most people think. So he's got that comment. JG is in here. Says, Jeff, Fox gave us what we wanted. He stepped up and looked elite. Mitch said this might be his best game as a Spur. You did mention that. Great compliment here from Spurs. Super R Bar at Super R Bar 30 says, Jeff, this team like Bam Bam from the Flintstones. They don't know how strong they are, and neither do we. Incredible. Again, we got the poll, as you can see up on the screen there. If you want to vote on the poll, you just got to put a 1 or a 2 in the chat, and we'll take your vote. Last comment here from JC before we move on. Fox with 27 sneaky points. Another one of those DL scores. Cross-check on cards, got those jambalaya PSA 10s, and he's talking about cards that he's got for De'Aaron Fox. But everybody seems to be back on the De'Aaron Fox bandwagon. Honestly, I sold all your seats for those of y'all that jumped out to true De'Aaron Fox
How much
fans.
did you
So,
hike up the prices now? If they want to come back
um,
in.
I was steady at $150 per seat.
Oh, steep.
People were saying I need to give you at least 50 because I'm not buying it. I did not. I held on, and
Yeah.
now the price just doubled after this game.
Double after one game. Well, hopefully he will
Mhm.
do that in the closeout game in game 5. Again,
Sure.
we'll talk about that later on this week here at Spurs in Focus. A guy that we're not talking about, and I think deserves some love, is Devin Vassell.
Yeah.
Devin Vassell did not have a good start to the game. He only had 2 points in that first half.
Mhm.
He had a couple rebounds, a couple assists, went 1 for 2 from inside the 3 line in 19 minutes, shot 33%. But in that second half, 9 key points, 4 key rebounds in the second half. He did that in 15 minutes and upping his shooting as well to 75% shooting from within the 3-point line.
Yeah.
He had a block, he had an offensive rebound, 3 defensive rebounds. The list goes on and on. He was a plus 26 for the
Yeah.
Spurs in the second half. After the game, Mitch Johnson gave him some love, telling everybody that, hey, Vassell didn't have like those big time. Wow, look at the numbers jumping off the box score
Yeah.
sheet here. I mean, Devin did all that because, but what Devin did in the second half was helpful in their comeback. He also mentioned this, that he now turns to Devin Vassell as a stabilizing force for the Spurs whenever they need that stabilizing force on the court. So technically he is a veteran. He's a veteran in the NBA. That's what veterans do. Talk about Devin Vassell.
Yeah, Devin, I think there was a spot there where he scored a couple of baskets in a row for San Antonio. He's starting to get a little more comfortable, and that's something that's going to be scary for the rest of the league. If he gets a little more comfortable, similar to the way he started the season for San Antonio, if we get that kind of Devin Vassell, good God, you're adding a 5th scorer on this team that can be the main guy on one of those any given nights, especially against a team like maybe Minnesota or someone down the line. Devin, what we've always said about Devin is that we expected him to be the next two-way player, the next two-way guy. And he's not quite there just yet, but he doesn't have to be. Devin's one of those guys where he's going to come in, he's going to knock down a couple of those shots. And you know what? If needed, Jeff, to take over a game, Devin Vassell has shown in the regular season he can take over a game. He can be that guy to knock down consistently, a 3-point shot, to get to the basket, to make that little jumper from the elbow. Devin is going to be a very big focal point moving down the road in the playoffs here. But again, I like what I see because he's not forcing his shots. He's not making something happen. Everything's just kind of falling in his lap.
Yeah.
And again, all these guys are growing right before our eyes. And it's getting to be, they're honking on Military Street, and it's not even 10 o'clock yet in the evening.
I can hear them right now. I live in downtown San Antonio. I am not kidding. I can literally hear them out my window here in downtown San Antonio. So the party is on in SA. Hey, real quick about Devin Vassell, though. In the second half, he goes 4 for 6 from the field. Just an efficient shooting. He had a 1 3-pointer. He had 1 at the rim. He missed a shot near the rim. But other than that, again, just connected on that. He had 66% shooting in that second half for the Spurs, just all in all. And hit 3 of those shots were assisted. So the players were finding him. And felt trust in him to knock down those shots. I saw a comment here, and I just want to get your thoughts on that. What do you think about Castle and Denny kind of having that little back and forth?
I was just going to bring it up. He said, what are your thoughts on Castle against Denny? So I mean, let's not call it a lie or anything. Castle did instigate that. Yeah, he didn't like the way Denny was guarding him. Obviously, Denny was guarding him really aggressive. No calls were made. Got to the basket, got an and one on Denny. Put the ball into his chest. I respect the hell out of Denny for retaliating and pushing Castle. You don't want to be made like a punk like that on the court. But again, it's playoff basketball, man. I love that. I love that. These guys are going back and forth at each other. They don't care. They want to get in each other's face. That's fine. That's playoff basketball. It's showing up Denny, and Denny pushed back. Castle pushed back. But here's the biggest thing that I took away from that. The officials said, technical on you, and that's it.
Yes, I love that part.
They didn't blow it up to, let me go to the replay and look for 45 minutes. And you know what? because Castle pushed him after the fact and he's got a T here, we're going to throw him out. No, no, no. They kept it simple and said, you know what? T on you, bam, we're done. Let's move on. It's playoff basketball.
Yeah.
I'm all for it, man. I'm all for this kind of thing. I was going to text you. What did you think about that? Because I don't know if it's me. I'm the fighter in the Spurs and Focus group, or you're the fighter. I don't know. You may be the more mellow one, but what did you think of the Castle Denny thing?
Yeah, I think Castle instigated. I'm with you. He didn't need to do that. I would have minded. He could have done it the other way. He could have maybe tripped at him, and instigated Denny maybe to retaliate. But
Mhm.
look, you're right. It's playoff emotions right now. You even saw it in the Minnesota Denver game. Joker literally ran across the court to get McDaniels, saying, "Hey, why are you running up the score?" And then, a near brawl almost broke out. So you're going to see that in a lot of these series. And guess what? Spurs is probably going to get more intense whether you face Minnesota or Denver.
Oh yeah.
So be ready for that. But my God, I mean, I just love Castle's dog in him. I'm glad it didn't cost him an ejection. I'm glad it didn't cost him something where the league has to get involved and maybe suspend him. So
There will
and
be a
yeah,
fine. There will be a
yeah,
fine.
there will be a fine, but
Yeah.
just don't suspend him for Game 5,
No.
and we're good. But
If he
yeah,
gets
then he looked like he was out to kill somebody. Did you see that look in his face?
yeah, Denny, we can't use those choice of words that he said on the replay that I saw.
Yeah,
But yeah, he looked like he was out for blood on that.
yeah,
I mean, again, it's similar to the Jokic McDaniels thing, man. I mean,
yeah,
Jokic felt that his team was being showed up and he fought for it. Castle put the ball in Denny's chest and Denny didn't like it. You're kind of showing him
yeah.
up in the team, and you don't want to be a punk like that, obviously.
No, you
So
don't.
Denny had red in his eyes, and it's going to be
Yeah,
interesting to
did he?
see. It's going to be interesting to see Game 5
Yeah,
because something like this, it's kind of like baseball. When something happens in a game, it carries over into that next game. I'm wondering if it's going to carry over into Game 5. Do we see a hard foul on Stephon
mm.
Castle? I
No,
mean,
I see it the other way around. I think the Blazers are going to do hard fouls on the Spurs.
as long as they keep their hard fouls
Yeah,
away from Wemby, I mean, the other guys I think can actually take care of themselves on that.
yeah,
So that's
yeah.
just the way it's. Other comments.
You know who's kind of a low key instigator too that doesn't get recognized for that? Champagne.
Yeah,
Watch him in the
he's been
game, man.
there.
He throws little elbows every once in a while. He snaps at some of the players very low key.
Yeah.
Uh, but no, again, overall, when I look at this game, I just love the fact that it's bad that the Spurs are having deficits to climb out of. That's not good. You don't want to go down that route.
Mhm.
But I like also too that they're getting some experience on how to come back in games, settling down, being together. And Mitch Johnson mentioned that. He said he didn't see togetherness in the first half. He didn't
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
execution in the first half. He saw it in the second half. He said they weren't even running to the rim as much as they were, and the numbers prove it. They just were all out of sorts. Let me get your thoughts on this. Why do you think in the last two games they're coming out looking flat and having to, dig themselves out of a hole? Is it simply a road game? Is it simply the bright lights? Is it simply let Portland get it out of
Mm.
their system and let's take care of them in the second half?
So I'll give you a tale of two tapes here. The first tape being Game 3 was, I think Tiago took Game 2, took the game film from Game 2, kind of expanded it, knowing they
Yeah,
weren't going to have Wimby. He put a really good game plan in place to start that game. You saw Drew Holiday get off to a fast start.
yeah,
Scoot Henderson got off to a fast start.
yeah,
So I think what it was the physicality in Game 3 in the beginning. They attacked the basket. They were just knocking down shot after shot. That was the adjustment that Tiago made. Now, Game 4, there's a different tale, a different side of this is what I saw. And it's the fact that you got Victor Wembanyama back. To
hmm,
me, Mitch is right. They didn't look together, but they didn't look as focused and they didn't look to attack as much as they did at the end
hmm,
of Game 3. Here's the reason why I feel that is probably the case. Because Victor was back, they played too careful. They didn't want to
mm,
make a sudden move, and maybe Victor didn't,
right,
wasn't in the right spot. Maybe he wasn't 100%. Maybe he's 90%. It just kind of feels like when you sprain that ankle, Jeff, and you're taking a step, it's kind of like
yes,
you don't want to step
hmm,
too hard because you don't know how strong that ankle is. It seems like they came out just a little cautious, but when they saw Victor get back to his old self, That's when you started to see the wheels turning. That's when you started to see
Mhm.
them going, come out of halftime. Hey, man, there's no more straitjacket on anything. There's no more bandages anywhere. It's full force. But I think they came out a little slow this game just because they were trying to get Victor back in the flow of things and everything.
Yeah, a good win. They have a stranglehold on the series. They just need one more win. Series over. They can move on and wait the winner between Minnesota and Denver. But they got to take care of business in Game Five again. We'll talk about Game Five later on this week here on Spurs in Focus.
Mhm.
I want to thank everybody for taking time out of their schedule on a Sunday to join us here on a live episode of Spurs in Focus. We're reacting to Game Five win. Your San Antonio Spurs got the W. Everybody, again, another scary times, in Portland. You're a Spurs fan, but nevertheless, 114-93. The Spurs were down by 17 points at the beginning of the halftime, and you go into the second half, win by 21. Talk about a turnaround. Steph Castle, he was saddled with fouls, nearly fouled out, or he
Mhm.
fouled out? No, he had like
No, he had
four or
5.
five. He had 5 fouls. Uh, Looking at bench, okay, but more improvement from Keldon. We got 9 points, and we had 1 rebound and 1 assist. Carter Bryant chipped in with 6 points. He had a rebound. He had an assist there. Harrison Barnes, again, I don't know. I don't know. Should we just expect this now from Barnes
Yeah.
moving
Yeah.
forward? 2 points, 2 assists. I mean, 2 rebounds, assists here.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, Harrison Barnes, he's the veteran guy that is going to come in, just kind of spell some minutes for the younger guys. And I think he's
Hmm.
aware of it. He's not going to be, I need to get you 12, 13 points a
Yeah.
night or anything like that. He's just going to come in. He's going to spell a little bit of these minutes
Hmm.
for the young guys, kind of get at them a little bit of rest. And he's just going to just play. That's all
Yeah.
you need him to do. You just need him to be a body out there, play. He got a dunk in that one, the game, which, I mean, he was open. He probably was surprised and shocked himself that he was open. But again, he only took, well, I believe, 2 shots in the game, and that's all
Yeah.
you kind of want from him. I think a lot of people are looking at Dylan Harper. Hey, you only had 3 points, but again, Harper being on the court opens up a lot for everybody else because of the game that he just had
Hmm.
recently. So yeah, I mean, he didn't have a great game scoring wise, but it's the impact of the previous game that made everybody take notice. When he got the ball, you could see a lot of the defenders were looking at him. He
Yeah.
was able to get to the basket, had an assist at there, but it's just the impact that the bench had. Overall, the bench did it. Put it this way: the bench outside of Dylan Harper in that game, really a couple of games, we haven't seen the bench that the
Hmm.
Spurs have had all season.
Yeah.
Is that something I want to get from you on real quick here before we do, Jeff? I want to give a shout out to Sith. Elias, he's a great follower of us here. I want to give him a shout out. He's been trying. He's you and I's. Our younger generation guy keeping everybody on next calm. He's got to keep
Right.
everybody calm.
Exactly.
But I want to get your opinion on the bench side of things.
Yeah.
Is that concerning for you that we're not seeing production off the bench? Because
What? Yeah.
remember I told you it's concerning to me if the starters are having to play 33, 34 plus minutes a game. That's kind of bad in the playoffs. But again, are we really worried about the bench here?
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that because I look at today's bench production, and
Mhm,
it was okay. Maybe Cornette didn't have a Cornette game, but he gave you 7 rebounds. He gave you a bucket. We
mhm.
mentioned Carter's contribution, Keldon's contributions. So it was okay, but you needed a little bit more. If you could just have Harper and Keldon going, just even at near or at their season averages, the
Yeah.
Spurs team is just deadly. But again, they need to figure this out because look, at this point, we all know the Blazers are cooked. There's no way the Blazers are going to beat the Spurs 3 straight games for some
Mm-mm.
incredible series comeback. It ain't going to happen. So you're going to already start penciling in either Minnesota or Denver to come to San Antonio soon. Either way, against those teams, it's all hands on deck. Denver is a deep team. I know Minnesota's had some injuries, two
Mhm.
massive ones. DiVincenzo's out for the season. Ant is week
Couple of
by week
weeks.
at this
Yeah.
point. So you don't know what you're going to get. But nevertheless, if they show Minnesota how deep they are, and Denver found out recently. So yeah, you got to have that bench production moving forward. Again, you can get away with that from an inexperienced Portland team. You can't do that versus experienced team either Minnesota or Denver. By the way, even like a team like Minnesota, Rudy, we forget that this is a team that's been to the conference finals how many years in a row?
Back to back years. Yeah.
Back to back years, deep playoff runs.
Mhm.
They have experience, despite the fact the record may not regular season record may not reflect that. That's a team that's been there and done that. Hey, quick shout out to San Antonio Toros Josh Mayer, he's in the house right now.
He's voting. Yeah.
Look at that.
Yep.
Yeah, for those of y'all who don't know, the San Antonio community, San Antonio City, they do have a new football team. The San Antonio Tours. I say new loosely because it's been in existence in the 60s. Kind of was laid to rest, and then it's revived thanks to Josh Mayer. For those who don't know, I am their official team writer. So as soon as the season comes up, I'll be with Josh. I already warned Josh and the team. I'll probably get tired. They'll probably get tired of me. Rudy, can I talk to you? Can I get a quote? Can I go here? Can I talk to you here? But the QB, he's already told me because I'm good, Jeff. I'm good. Just you can talk to me anyway. So they've been warned, Rudy. They have been warned.
I'm glad you're into the football world now because we cover a lot of NFL. Yeah. We talk to some NFL guys too. So look at baby Jeff coming up here. We can maybe move you up to the NFL shows that we do.
Yeah, you're getting up there. Little strides. I'm doing you. Semi-pro, so those are my baby steps right there.
There we go.
But yeah, shout out Josh Mayer. And again, if you want to get your tickets to the SA Toros, just Google SA Toros, and then there it is, San Antonio Toros. You can even become an owner. You can become an owner of the team. I'm not kidding. You can be an owner of the team.
Wow.
Go look to the website right there.
So if I become an owner, do I get to make owner decisions? Can I cut players? Can I trade players?
You might want to talk to Josh about that. I don't know
how much do I have to put in there in order for me to start making.
That's definitely a conversation you need to have with Josh. So we appreciate the love, Josh. Thank you for stopping by here at Spurs in Focus Live. We're getting close up to it. We're gonna get to some of your comments in a bit, but it's that time of every show. We're looking at 3 areas. What was the turning point of the game? What's the standout stat? And who's the player of the night? So let's go into that. Rudy, what do you want to start off with?
You pick. Put me on the spot. You pick.
Okay. Let's do standout stats. Rudy, what is your standout stat from the big win?
Ooh, my standout stat is the number. It is 73-35. That is the second half scoring for San Antonio and Portland.
Scorched them.
So when you talk about scorched earth, as we have heard that term before, that is my standout stat. When you are able to outscore them 73-35 in the second half, there is no team. I don't care if you are the OKC Thunder. I don't care if you're one of the U.S. Olympic teams that's won gold outside of the Dream Team. It is very difficult to beat a team when they are that hot, especially coming out at halftime. They just obliterated Portland. That is my stat of the game. It's a second half stat. And I am sorry, Blazer fans, but Clyde Drexler is not walking through that door.
Drexler.
Terry Porter's not walking through that door. You don't have the Gel Blazers coming out. It's pretty much done. I'm sorry. I've got to say it. That's my stat.
Yeah, thanks in large part to that guy you see on your screen right there. I mean, he just took over.
Where are the haters, Jeff? Where are the haters?
So they're not showing up in the comment section, that's for sure.
Exactly. I'm scrolling through Twitter. I don't see no hate on the earth. Where are the haters?
By the way, Josh is gonna like what's going on the moment I take off Fox's image here. Switch out to the Toros cap.
Wow. Here. See, you get a cap. I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to become an owner to get a cap now.
You'll probably get all the caps if you want to. For me, the turning point of the game was once again the Spurs had a massive run in the second half. They were a plus 19 between. Well, first of all, the score was 58-41 in the third period with actually from the start of the period. And then the Spurs go on a plus 19 run to about the 4-minute point of the third period. And then they had the lead already 64-62. Now, in that run, Vassell scored 9 points. Again, shout out to Vassell. He went 4 for 4 from the field in that run. Perfect shooting. He hadn't even added 4 rebounds. He was key to the Spurs run that took over the game and ultimately led to the win. In that run, Castle, 3 points and 3 assists doing his part. The Spurs were just red hot for the start of the third to almost to the end. They connected on 4 7 3-point shots in that run, while the Blazers were held to 2 of 15 shooting. They did not make a single three during the Spurs run. That is my stat, the standout stat here at the Spurs in Focus. All right, let's see if we can trip up Rudy here. Let's see. I'm going to go with this one. Rudy, who's your standout player?
Standout player. Let's flip a coin. I'm caught the coin. It landed on De'Aaron Fox. I mean, let's be honest,
Obviously,
man.
yes.
Obviously, standout player is going to be De'Aaron Fox. 28 points after getting all the hate from the 2-1-0. He finally put everybody to bed and said, you know what? I'm here for a reason. They pay me this money for a reason. This is the reason why. When I need to be clutch, I can be clutch. When the big man needs to be clutch, he can be clutch. But guess what? For everybody that don't like me in San Antonio, I've got a 7'4" guy that
There you
loves me
go.
in San Antonio, and that's all that matters. De'Aaron Fox, 28 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists, 1 steal, and dare I say, 2 blocks? I mean, not
Hey,
2 shots. I'm talking 2 blocks for De'Aaron Fox. Overall, he filled the stat sheet just like it was Christmas, and he had the stocking stuffer on the mantle getting ready for Santa Claus. De'Aaron Fox is my standout player of the game.
you know, I knew you were gonna go with Fox, and it was obvious. Yes, he deserves
Of
it, but
course.
and absolutely deserves it. I'm gonna go with this guy,
You
Victor
have to.
Wembanyama. Yeah,
You have
in
to.
his return, just really helped the Spurs in the second half overcome that deficit. 18 points in the second half for your San Antonio Spurs. Threw in 4 rebounds. He was a perfect 8 for 8 from the free throw line in the second half. And he was also perfect from the field, going 5 for 5 in the second half. He was a plus 31 in the second half for the San Antonio Spurs. By the way, interesting too. He got into foul trouble. I thought that was going to do him in the second half. He had 3 fouls, but he played through it. And he gave you 3 steals and 1 offensive rebound, 4 second chance points. What stands out to me is just the defensive impact he made in the second half. Yes, scoring is important, but the defensive impact he made. I mean, we mentioned that earlier in the show.
Yeah.
That sequence where he had like back to back to back blocks are just going nuts right there. 5 blocks in the second half alone. He was a big reason, one of the big reasons why the Spurs got the W. I am going with Victor Wembanyama as my standout player. All right, let's go with the last one here, and that is the turning point. Rudy Campos, your turning point.
Turning point, and it's going to sound kind of weird, so you got to kind of follow me here. This is one of those what ifs that you see in Marvel Universe here. Turning point for me was the end of halftime, or actually the beginning of halftime. I'm sorry, when the Spurs were down 17. It was turning point for me because we felt maybe this would be a Portland team that continues to hold that lead. Turning point for me was Mitch going back into the locker room, getting his guys refocused, them coming out of the locker room on a 13-0 run. That's to start the game. You bring the game back down to 4 points. It's within reach. So again, I love the fact that they went into halftime down that big, but I even loved more that, again, calm, cool, collective, this San Antonio Spurs team. Turning point for me was going into halftime down, coming back out on a 13-0 run. They didn't look back after that. That's the turning point for me. Spurs stayed focused. And can I do this? Spurs were in focus as well.
There you go.
There you go. Look at that. Look at that drop.
Rudy getting creative here. For me, it was another run, the final nail in the coffin that put the Blazers to sleep. I'm talking about the 4th period. The Spurs were well in control, but the Blazers are still hanging in there. They weren't completely knocked out. Well, the Spurs, they served him up a platter of knuckle sandwiches and just put him in the grave and said, you know what, this game is ours. 4th period, they went on a plus 16 run in the 4th quarter from about the 9-minute point till about the 4-minute point of the 4th period. The score was still close to start that run. It was 80-76 Spurs with a slim lead. At the end of that run, Rudy, 101-81 Spurs with a commanding 20-point lead. In that run, that's where De'Aaron Fox took over. He had 10 points, 2 of 2 from the 3 line. Keldon Johnson stepped up in that run, 7 points off the bench. It was a perfect shooting from 3 of 3. And they capitalized on turnovers. Surprisingly, Holiday had 4 turnovers in that Spurs run. The Spurs made 8 of 8 shots in that run and also 11 points off some of those turnovers. And they even had 4 steals. So they got it done offensively. They got defensively. That was my turning point of the game. Okay, we got a few more minutes. Rudy, any shout outs, any comments you want to highlight before we put a bow on this?
Yeah, Sith with the Go Spurs Go. He said the turning point was his tweet that he did tweet out on X. So we'll have to
Yeah.
go back and look at
Why
that.
is he always popping his collar for? You notice that he's
Uh
trying to pop his collar a
I
lot more
think
now.
he learned that from you and I. The confidence there, it's
Ah, yes.
growing on the Sith man there. You got in Campos 210 says go Spurs go. Let's bring it back home for the win.
Mhm.
It says Portland beat themselves.
Yeah.
That's kind of
So
an interesting
yeah, that's an interesting
take
take.
there because you could maybe see that they beat themselves, but man, it's just that Spurs run. I don't know if Portland beat themselves there because maybe a timeout at a certain spot would have helped
Yeah.
us Portland. I don't know. Good comment, good take there. But that's it. We got Seth laughing here. But other than that, Jeff, all the comments were great, man.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank y'all guys for tuning into this live episode of Spurs in Focus. And we'll definitely have a new episode of Spurs in Focus to start your Monday. We're going to get away from the X's and O's in the games. We have a special guest for Monday. We'll definitely get back on track on Tuesday as we'll go into game 5. Hopefully, it will be a closeout game. Rudy, you want to give your quick prediction? That's it.
Uh
Blazers cooked. We're done. Start going to Cancun. Have
yeah.
any
What is
plans?
yeah, I mean it's Spurs in 5. I don't think
Yeah.
the Blazers are done. They can go ahead and go to what like Charles Barkley says, go to that dirty water down in Galveston and they can
The
kind of
dirty
go
water.
they can go on summer vacation down there. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's Spurs in 5. I don't have them
Yeah.
losing again.
Hey, it'll make us look smart if we call it in the U in 5. So we'll be like, see, listen to us. We called it in 5. So it
You,
happened.
you and I and a lot of guys that are involved in our network, we call a lot of stuff a long time ago. So
Mm-hmm.
I would just say I'm not going to toot my own horn, but Spurs in Focus, everything that we do here, we're pretty good at our jobs. We know what
Yeah,
we're
just a little
talking
bit.
about.
Just a little bit. You talk about popping collars. Look what just Rudy's doing right now. He's just popping this collar right now, left and right.
I have every right
But
to.
yeah, exactly. Again, they were the ones that called Fox to San Antonio years ago before it
Yeah,
even happened.
they
So
go
there
back
you
on the
have it.
tapes.
Yeah. Like there's receipts, as the kids say. There are receipts.
Hmm.
Rudy, thank you for taking your time to join us here on a Sunday to talk about the Spurs' massive win. Have a stranglehold on the series versus Portland. Looks like that series might be coming to an end this Tuesday. Spurs
Yeah.
were up 3-1 after beating the Blazers 114-93. De'Aaron Fox with 28 points, Victor Wembanyama with 27, Steph Castle with 16. Again, the team looked good in the second half. Hopefully, they don't put a scare in the home crowd this Tuesday. So we appreciate y'all as well for stopping by here at a live episode of Spurs in Focus, leaving your comments, joining us here. I know it's a Sunday. Y'all want to relax for the weekday starts, but nevertheless, we appreciate it. Hey, everybody, don't forget to subscribe to Spurs in Focus. First, start off with the Substack. Just Google Spurs in Focus Substack. Go hit subscribe, completely free. Sign up right now, be a part of the crew. And for this show, you want to go to iTunes, Spotify, Pocket Cast, Amazon Podcasts, YouTube Music, obviously YouTube. Hit subscribe. Let's get those numbers higher and higher. And by the way, Spurs in Focus should be your first and only spot for all things San Antonio Spurs. Yeah, don't go anywhere else. Ignore everybody else that you see online and on YouTube. You just want to come to Spurs in Focus for all things San Antonio Spurs. We'll be back tomorrow, as mentioned, with a new episode of Spurs in Focus. So for my good buddy, my co-host here, Mr. Rudy Campos with the Sports Answer. He is on X at the Sports Answer. Follow him as well. I am Jeff Garcia, and well, you're now in focus with Spurs in Focus.